You know, I had a feeling that Mario and Luigi Brothership was going to be a special experience, and you know something? I was right. The game is a total blast. Now, I have been streaming quite a bit of this game on both our YouTube channel and also on twitch.tv/EPN. I've been having fun sharing my adventure through this experience, and I've been getting a lot of nice comments about the game and a lot of surprise, I think. There's been a lot of conversation. I think that this has been a somewhat divisive experience for people out there. We know that there are some reviews that have hit pretty hard on this game, and I don't know if this is an RPG in the Mario pantheon that is going to be for everybody, but it certainly has been something that I have enjoyed. I want to start first of all with the aesthetics of the game, the visuals, and also the incredible music, which I know is kind of the surface part of the experience. It really comes down to gameplay, but man, this is a great looking game. I love the look of this game. It's hard for me not to think of classic animated shows and movies when I look at the way that everything is just accentuated and over the top with the animations and the way that Mario and Luigi interact with each other and the cutesy character designs. I just love the aesthetics. When my daughter first saw this, she said, "Hey, that looks a lot like Cuphead," and I thought that that was a very astute observation. It's not the first thing you think about, but because there is kind of an old-timey look to everything, it does sort of bring us back to a throwback. And while I was streaming this game, somebody pointed out in one of the chats that it looks like the box art for the previous Mario and Luigi games for the DS and 3DS, and I thought, yeah, that's a really clever observation, that it does look like classic retro box art come to life, and I just love it. I love the world designs, I love the character designs, I love the animations and some of these incredible cut sequences when you put these islands together as part of the story and you watch the camera just pivot across all of this beautiful artwork. Just stunning. Really, really lovely. And complementing that is just this excellent and eclectic collection of musical themes. There's so much variety, which, you know, of course is sort of corresponding to the different islands that you get to visit. And it's amazing. It's a great immersion, and of course things start to accentuate when you're getting into more action-oriented sequences. But let's talk a little bit about the story. Essentially what's happened here is you're whisked away to this other land of Concordia, which is this island nation that has been blown apart, and you are trying to assemble this big island nation by visiting all of the pieces of these islands, which have kind of created their own cultures and their own objectives and obstacles that you have to overcome. And so you visit all of these different islands and you get to a lighthouse and you connect these lighthouses to Shipshape Island, which is the first island that you land on. Shipshape is an interesting island though, because it's floating around inside of this giant ocean on its own. You're not in control of it, but it's cruising on currents across this giant ocean. And so you're looking through a telescope on a cannon at different islands and islets, these small little challenge islands that you can shoot yourself to, and then you have to do all of the stuff, all of the objectives, and there are side quests and different characters that you meet that send you off on these different little mini adventures, but ultimately what you're trying to do is connect all of these islands. And it's about working together. That theme is exemplified in the title of the game, but obviously in a lot of the mission structures. And anytime there is any kind of a separation between the characters or any kind of question of splitting apart, there is this moment of thinking about how these two brothers are so interdependent and how much the other characters that Mario and Luigi interact with are influenced by their way to work together. And that's a pretty cool message to get from the game. Of course, it's not just these other electrically influenced characters that you're going to meet across these different lands of Concordia. You're also going to see some familiar characters from the Mario universe. You'll find them scattered about, and you may have to battle some of them. But essentially what you're brought into is the story of these bad guys trying to manipulate all of these different citizens of Concordia on all of these different islands. They're using mind control, and they're laying all kinds of traps, and they've got some puzzles. There's some detective and puzzle solving skills that you're going to have to bring to the table to get past some of the obstacles and objectives, but there are also tremendous boss fights in here. And so they're manipulating different creatures and different characters and creating creating pseudo-alliances with different characters that you are going to have to defeat in order to bring justice back to Concordia and bring it all back together again. You know, I found that the story in the game, just like the sort of main concept of the game, is a little bit scatterbrained. It's a little bit splashed all over the place. But I didn't mind that so much because there are nice little touch points and nice little cutscenes, and you start to recognize that, like, there's characters that you bring together that love each other, that shouldn't love each other, a little Romeo and Juliet stuff. There are characters that miss their siblings or their children, and you try to bring all of those characters together. So there's a heartfelt kind of quality to it, but I have to tell you that the story doesn't have the same sort of comedic impact or the same hit that Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door or Super Mario RPG recently did for me. And the enemies didn't really have that same kind of quality of resonance either, but it's fun to fight them, and that's really where this game excels. Like all of the other elements in the game that you can talk about and hang your hat on to enjoy, it really comes down to the play of it, and the play is really, really compelling and addictive. It's all about that partnership between Mario and Luigi, using the A and B button and the X and Y button, whether you're using your hammers or your jump attacks, and being clever with the way that you combine these attacks and your puzzle-solving skills to combat the different enemy types that you're going to meet along the way. And there are a lot of random battles that you're going to get into, and it's sometimes difficult to avoid them. Sometimes the pathways on these different islands are a little bit narrow and you're kind of ushered to them, but combat is really fun and it's really rewarding. Just the act of timing the button presses for each of the characters, whether you're jumping over an attack or jumping on an enemy or hitting them with a hammer or hitting a projectile back with a hammer, all of that is very key and fun and core, and there's a lot of strategy involved there, but then it's accentuated by these battle plugs which get dropped in, and they're all modifiers to the experience. So you might have some splashback on an attack, or they might actually combine. There's an icy attack that can combine with, I think it's a wind attack or some kind of other attack, but it creates icy tornadoes, which is really cool. And all of that is visually satisfying as well. All of the splashback attacks and the defensive postures, even auto healing that comes in. You can put an auto one-up into the battle plugs, so if Mario or Luigi falls, you can automatically give them health. Now, you run out of charge on each of these battle plugs, and then you have to recharge them, so they kind of explode, and then you have to wait till they're back again. And that adds a little bit of strategic thinking into this experience as well. And then there are also these abilities that you gain as you get deeper and deeper into the game. One of them is you put Mario and Luigi together and they become a UFO to jump over wider gaps on platforms. One of them is they combine into a ball form, a little bit like Metroid's ball form, which is pretty cool. And then they also are buffed as you get deeper into the game, these abilities that you pick up. And of course you've got different armor sets and weapons and things like that that you collect along the way. Would have been cool to make the characters a little bit different as they're finding new loot. I think that would have been awesome. There is this kind of very, very, very light Diablo-esque kind of quality of finding, you know, cool stuff or buying cool stuff, but you don't get the real win of that because nothing changes aesthetically with the way that Mario and Luigi look, and that's a missed opportunity. It's also a missed opportunity at this point for Nintendo to keep making these story-rich experiences in the Mario universe, and for that matter, in the Zelda universe, where we're not hearing awesome voice actors. And I did make that comment a few times. It would have been great to hear some voice acting in this title because there's a lot of text, there's a lot of connection and interaction with these different characters, and the little gibberish stuff. That stuff is pretty fun, and it's cute, and it makes you smile, but it would have been great to hear awesome actors just live up to these performances and really make this game an extra level of special. But it is special. It is a super fun experience. It is a bit grindy, and sometimes the bosses get a little spongy. Even the base attacks get a little bit spongy sometimes, so leveling up is key. And also when you go back to islands that you explored earlier, there's a lot of retraversal in this game, but when you go back to islands that you've explored earlier, the base level of the enemies kind of stays the same, so you can trounce them, but you don't get much in experience. And so there is that sort of repetition in combat, but thankfully the combat is fun. There's a lot of strategic thinking and a lot of modifying the experience all the way through the game, and it's just lovely to look at, and it's really, really addictive. And it's also big. It's a really big game, and I thought this was going to be a super fun weekend and a bit kind of to jump into. But it's big. There's a lot to explore. There's a lot of value for the money here. Again, I say this over and over again, don't rush this one. It's kind of fun to just do an island a day, and there's lots of islands to explore and then re-explore. Just take your time, enjoy this process, and if you're finding any of the battles or your kids are finding any of the battles that you're getting into a little too difficult or whatever, you can adjust the difficulty and modify the settings with the battle plugs and stuff to kind of make things easier on yourself. And there were a couple of, even on the streams, I died a few times, and it's surprising. And sometimes there was one boss battle, and I don't even know what the hell was happening there, but they kept regenerating and they kept coming back and calling bad guy, buddies from off screen onto screen again. And I was like, when is this gonna end? I just kept taking out a few of them. And it finally did. I finally did figure it out. But yeah, this is a cool game. Is it my favorite of the Mario RPGs that I've been playing recently? No, I think Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door has this one beat. But this is really, really solid. I'm going to give Mario and Luigi Brothership an 8.5 out of 10.